coffee had become such a culture that coffee houses now had a specific name to them. They were called, in a Persian Turkish world, kahvehane or kahwa khane. Basically, kahwa meaning coffee, and then khane meaning a room or a space where people met. The first coffee houses, or the first kahwehanes, actually appeared in the Islamic world in Damascus and Cairo at the same time. They were very famous because these places were also very crucial points of knowledge in the Islamic world. Now in Cairo, it was because of the Al-Azhar University that coffee houses were established around it, where people came to trade their knowledge. And by the 16th century, coffee houses were actually part of the Ottoman culture. Now people didn't come to the coffee houses only to drink coffee, but it was because in these spaces people could actually have conversations, they could look at work of arts, they could trade poems and books, and many other things. A lot of people also came to play games like backgammon and chess. Now coffee houses were also at the same time a very important point for people who wanted to discuss politics and ideas. This at the same time became a point of concern for a lot of the sultans and the governors. Like the first bans that came was in Mecca, for example, when Khairuddin Bey tried to ban coffee. But then again, coffee was not very easy to maintain a ban on, so it prevailed very easily, and after a short time the coffee ban was lifted. The reason why coffee wasn't easy to ban, it was because it had become a part of the life in these areas and the spaces. The Ottoman historian of the 17th century, Ibrahim Pechevi, writes that in the high God-guarded city of Istanbul, until the year of 1555, there was no coffee houses, and suddenly two fellows from the Levant, Hakam al-Dimashqi and Shams al-Halabi, actually came to open a shop in Istanbul's district of Tahtakale. This was the first coffee house, but it wasn't the only. Very soon, many coffee houses would happen around, and they would attract a lot of people. But again, these are some of the exact reasons why a lot of the times coffee was banned. Khair Bek in Cairo and Mecca, when he tried to actually ban coffee, his mufti said that it was because of religious laws. He said that it's unhealthy and it is toxic, hence it must be banned. But actually, if we look at it from a politic side, we understand that his governing was under threat, and it is very understandable that he would like to ban coffee. And this was not the case only in Mecca or Cairo. This happened in Istanbul at the same time because people were afraid that sentiments against the government or against the Sultanate were being spread around the coffee houses. But we should not dismiss the concern of the muftis at the same time as well, because everyone who's tried coffee and everyone who drinks coffee knows a little bit about the ecstasy that actually coffee gives to one who drinks it. Even in the Catholic world, it was a concern because the coffee as a drink would give someone an ecstasy. And another reason to actually not like coffee in the Catholic world, it was because it was coming from the Muslims. So what else? They called it the satanic drink. Funnily enough, when people wanted actually to ban it in the Catholic world, they wanted to get the blessing of the Pope to ban coffee. So they went to Pope Clement VIII. But when he tried it, he actually loved coffee so much that he said, "Oh, how delicious this satanic drink is. It is such a pity that it is exclusive only to non-believers. What we're going to do is we're going to fool the Satan and we're going to baptize this drink and make it the drink of the church and claim it a Christian drink." Now, as coffee made its way to Europe, things didn't really change a lot. These bans continued to actually come to action in different places. In 1675, King Charles II tried to ban coffee in England. But what happened is that coffee actually wasn't able to be banned or to stay banned more than 2 weeks, because what happened is that people rose and fought against it. And this again leads to an initial and very important truth, that whatever people want to have, they will fight for it. Same is with coffee. But now this was not the case every time with everywhere. In the Ottoman Empire, some of the bans actually lasted quite long and they were really scary. Sultan Murad IV went on a crackdown against coffee. He went so far that sometimes he would actually mask himself as a commoner, go out with a sword and actually decapitate people who broke the rules on coffee ban. Now this sounds really scary, but things stayed like this for almost a century. And after that, when his successor also passed away, the coffee ban was lifted around the 18th century. Now historians note that even if coffee was banned and the coffee ban was trying to be imposed as much as possible, by the end of the 18th century, the coffee culture had spread so much across the empire that it was impossible to actually have control over it. Things were not different again in the French world as well. Louis XV, he was very afraid that people would actually share anti-monarchical sentiments in coffee houses of France. So he tried to actually ban coffee. But what happened is, very funnily enough, that the start of the French Revolution in 1789, it happened after a meeting that happened in one of Paris' most famous cafes, Café de Foy. And again, the truth stands out. Coffee always initiating and attracting trouble, but prevailing over it.